Some days I really miss her, like I miss her every day, but some days it's intense, it's more, like just some days it's just a really bad day. I know I couldn't have done anything, but there's still still a part of me that I still feel guilty for what happened to her, do you know what I mean? Like,
why do you feel guilty?
Because I wish I didn't let her go. But I have another wee girl, like, if I didn't have her, I'd happily just crumble and be with Alesha right now, but I have her. So, I don't know, maybe she's my strength.
The Isle of Bute sits quietly off the west coast of Scotland, a place of winding coastal roads, green hills that roll down into the sea, and a ferry ride that seems to slow life to a gentler rhythm. Here, everyone knows everyone, and visitors often remark on the feeling of safety, the sense that trouble is something that happens somewhere else. In the summer, days stretch long into the night, and the sound of gulls and lapping water fills the air. But in July 2018, that peace would be torn apart in a way no one could have imagined. A child, full of life and promise, would be taken in the dead of night, and the events that followed would haunt the island forever. Her name was Alesha Sarah MacPhail. Born on the 22nd of October 2011 in Glasgow, she lived most of the time in Airdrie with her mother, Georgina Lochrain, and her younger sister. At just 6 years old, Alesha had a way of leaving an impression. Teachers described her as smiley and happy, a child who loved learning and brought joy into the classroom. She had a talent for gymnastics, a fondness for baking cakes with her mum, and a habit of scribbling short stories in notebooks. She was curious, creative, and always ready to share a laugh. Her parents had separated when she was just 3 months old. Her father, Robert MacPhail, lived with his parents on the Isle of Bute, along with his girlfriend, Tony McLaughlin. Alesha split her time between both parents, visiting her father on the island every other weekend and during school holidays. Those visits were filled with beach walks, ice creams on the promenade, and the kind of simple joys a child treasures. On June 28, 2018, she arrived on the island for a planned 3-week summer stay. No one could have imagined it would be her last. Life on Bute was the kind where front doors were often left unlocked. For those who have grown up in small communities, you know that kind of trust. Neighbors stop to chat in the street, children play outside until dusk without worry. Would you, in that setting, think twice about locking the door at night? For the MacPhail family, it was simply a way of life. Just streets away from where Alesha was staying lived Aaron Campbell. On the surface, Campbell was a typical teenager. Born in Shrewsbury in May 2002, he had moved to the island as a young child. He attended Rothesay Academy, played video games, posted on social media, and even made videos hoping to become a YouTube star. But court records and witness testimony later revealed a darker side.
Your attitude was clearly demonstrated by the evidence that you posted an image of yourself in a mirror while making a joke that you had found where the murderer was hiding. The arrogance and callousness of that is breathtaking. Thanks to the dedication of the police and forensic scientists, ably assisted by members of the public, such as those who came forward when they found articles of your clothing on the shore, you were eventually brought to justice.
Campbell had been diagnosed with ADHD, had a history of depression, and engaged in self-harm. There were reports of physical and emotional abuse in his home life. In adolescence, he made troubling statements, once posting online that he might kill one day for the life experience. At the time, some may have dismissed it as teenage provocation, but it was a chilling hint of what was to come. He also had a connection to Robert MacPhail and Tony McLaughlin, having previously bought cannabis from them. That arrangement had ended months earlier after disagreements. On the evening of July 1st, 2018, Alesha's grandparents tucked her into bed. A Peppa Pig DVD played softly as she drifted off to sleep. Around 11 p.m. she was checked on and found safe and sound. The front door key remained in the lock, common in the community. That same night, Aaron Campbell hosted friends at his home. They drank, they socialized, and by just before midnight, the gathering had wound down. At about 12:30 a.m., one friend described finding him in a low, suicidal mood. He refused offers of company, saying he planned to get stoned instead. Over the next hour, Campbell messaged several people, including Robert MacPhail, looking for cannabis. At 1:47 a.m., and again at 1:48 a.m., he called Tony McLaughlin. There was no answer. At 1:54 a.m., CCTV from his mother's home showed Campbell leaving. He was carrying a kitchen knife from his home's own kitchen. Later, he told investigators he initially intended to steal cannabis. But when he entered the MacPhail house, a short walk from his own, and saw Alesha asleep, his focus changed. In his own court-documented words, "All I thought about was killing her once I saw her." He picked her up and carried her out of the house without waking anyone. Along the shoreline path, Alesha awoke and asked who he was. Campbell told her he knew her father and was taking her home. Instead, he carried her to a secluded spot. There, in the stillness of the early morning, he raped and murdered her, applying pressure to her neck and face. Afterward, he threw her clothes into the sea, returned home to shower, and later went back to retrieve his phone from the scene. At 6 a.m., Alesha's grandmother, Angela King, noticed she wasn't in her bed. A search of the house turned up nothing. By 6:23 a.m., she had phoned the police and posted a plea on Facebook, asking if anyone had seen her granddaughter. At 8:54 a.m., a local man walking his dog in Woodland, near a former hotel, saw something in the undergrowth. It was Alesha. He contacted police immediately. Officers arrived, sealed off the area, and began one of the largest searches the island had ever seen. Within hours, search teams combing the shoreline found a kitchen knife. More clothing items appeared: a fleece jacket, jogging bottoms, boxer shorts, and a t-shirt. Campbell's own mother identified them as his. Forensic scientists got to work. Fibers from Campbell's trousers were found on Alesha's pajamas. His DNA was found on the recovered clothing, and most damning of all, his DNA was recovered from Alesha's body, on her neck, her face, and other areas. A forensic expert testified the odds of it belonging to anyone else were 1,000,000,000 to 1. On July 3rd, the day after Alesha was found, Campbell used his phone to search. How do police find DNA? He clicked a page titled, "Collecting DNA Evidence." Prosecutors would later highlight this as a sign of his awareness and panic.
That it will bring some comfort to the family and friends of little Alesha MacPhail, who have been through the most horrific ordeal. Throughout the police investigation and this trial, Alesha's family have shown incredible bravery in the face of the most appalling circumstances.
Meanwhile, word of the tragedy was spreading. Social media filled with speculation, but investigators stayed focused. A 16-year-old girl later testified that on the day of the discovery, Campbell had recorded a Snapchat video saying, "Found the guy who has done it." At first, Campbell spoke to police as a potential witness. He claimed he'd spent the night buying and smoking cannabis, but the evidence was stacking up. On July 4th, he was arrested. The next day, he was formally charged with abduction, rape, and murder. His first court appearance came on July 13th at Greenock Sheriff Court, where he pled not guilty.
And the issues were well focused and laid before the jury. As I said to the jury after they returned their verdict, counsel do not make up defences, but present the case on the basis of their instructions. It is obvious what your instructions were, and your evidence was entirely in keeping with them, albeit it was a tissue of lies. It does not go.
If you believe every life lost to violence deserves to be remembered and every case deserves answers, now is the time to take action. Hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update on cases like this. Give this video a like so more people can hear these stories, and share it with your friends, your family, and your social networks. Drop a comment telling us where you're watching from and what justice means to you. Because together, we can keep the pressure on, and we can make sure these cases are never forgotten. The trial began on February 11th, 2019 in Glasgow's High Court before Judge Lord Matthews. Prosecutors laid out a meticulous timeline. Campbell leaving home at 1:54 a.m., returning at 3:35 a.m., and making 2 shorter trips before 4:07 a.m. CCTV from the shoreline showed a figure carrying something in their arms around 2:25 a.m. Pathologists noted Alesha's feet were clean, clear evidence she had been carried to the location. In court, Campbell's defense tried to redirect blame, accusing Toni McLaughlin of the crimes. She denied the claims completely, describing her affection for Alesha. Campbell insisted he had never met the girl, never entered the house, and never committed the acts. When asked if blaming an innocent person would be evil, he agreed, yet continued with the claim. His lawyers argued he lacked the physical strength to carry Alesha's weight, about 22 kilograms. The jury did not accept this. Witness after witness painted a picture of events that matched the forensic trail exactly. After just 3 hours of deliberation, the jury returned a unanimous guilty verdict on February 21, 2019. Lord Matthews described the evidence as overwhelming and the crime as one of the most wicked and evil he had seen in decades. The ban on publishing Campbell's name was lifted. On March 21, 2019, sentencing took place. Background reports revealed Campbell had told psychologists he was quite satisfied with the murder and had to stop himself from laughing during the trial. He admitted to violent sexual fantasies and showed no remorse. Lord Matthews described him as cold, calculating, remorseless, and dangerous, imposing a life sentence with a minimum term of 27 years before eligibility for parole. Rehabilitation, the judge said, was unlikely. In September 2019, his appeal reduced the term to 24 years due to his age, making him eligible for parole at 40. The court still noted he might never be released. In the wake of the verdict, the island grieved. On July 21, 2018, hundreds gathered in Coatbridge for Alesha's funeral. She was laid to rest in Coltswood Cemetery. Memorials soon followed. In May 2019, a pink bench was unveiled on Rothesay Promenade in her memory. In June, her primary school opened a playhouse decorated with art by her classmates, funded by £22,000 in public donations. Family, friends, and community members came together for a service filled with song and poetry. The shock lingered. The Isle of Bute, once a place where doors were left open, now felt altered. "Nothing feels the same," said a local reverend. Conversations turned to the warning signs of youth violence, the role of early intervention, and the dangers of ignoring troubling behavior. The case also spurred debate about sentencing for young offenders and the limits of rehabilitation. What part of this story stays with you? Is it the innocence of a child's summer holiday, the arrogance of a killer searching for DNA advice online, or the thought of a community's trust shattered in a single night? Share your thoughts in the comments. Would you still leave your door unlocked? If you believe stories like this deserve to be told, truthfully, respectfully, and without forgetting the victims, please like this video, subscribe for more, and share it so her name is never forgotten. Every name matters, every story matters, and every act of remembrance pushes back against the silence.